If you're new to mountain biking and thinking about switching to clipless pedals, or clips I like to call them, you can get stuck making a few simple mistakes. So this is the top 6 mistakes you want to avoid when using clipless pedals. Getting stuck in the pedals is something that we've all done, I'm sure. You're lying if you haven't. And it can be down to inexperience. It takes a little bit of practice and a little bit of thought to begin with about how to unclip out that pedal. So why not lean against something nice and solid and have a bit of a practice? So just get used to twisting your ankle to come out of the pedal, and also clipping back in takes a bit of practice. But also, like I said to begin with, it does take a bit of thought. So as you're riding along and you know you're going to stop, think about the twist, and actually not panicking like a lot of beginners do and just trying to pull up on the pedal. You've got to get used to that twist. There's a few setup tips that might help you out here as well. So with Shimano pedals, you can actually turn off the tension, so undo the tension to make it easier, less force is needed to get out of that pedal. Also, you can use multi-release cleats, so they're good for beginners, as well as twisting to get out. You can actually pull up to get out of those. I'm using Crank Brothers, so you can choose to have 15 degrees or 20 degrees of release. So I go on the sooner release so I can get my foot out easier. Again, that's good for beginners. Also, you want to make sure that your shoe isn't too close to the crank. So what I do is I space the cleat in towards the edge of the shoe, which then moves the shoe out away from the crank. It's giving me space, because if it's too close, you can actually foul the crank, touch it with your shoe, and it can give you a bit more pressure and find it harder to get out of that pedal. Also, for my trail and enduro bikes, I actually use the Crank Brothers Mallet ELS. So it's their enduro clip pedal. LS standing for long spindle, so the pedals are actually nicely spaced out from the cranks. Gives you a wider Q factor, which means your feet are further apart, which doesn't bother me at all. But what I do like is that extra clearance for my shoes. So on those sort of more aggressive bikes and riding gnarlier stuff, it makes it super easy to get out of my pedals. One last thing that could stop you from getting out that pedal nicely is friction between the sole of your shoe and that pedal. So I'm on my little cross-country pedals today with these nice cross-country shoes as well, so there's no friction at all. But what you might find on the bigger pedals like the downhill or the enduro pedals with a bigger platform, they might actually have some pins in there that are just fouling the bottom of your shoe. So you can adjust them in or out to try and get that balance of friction so you can feel the pedal, but not too much so you can't release nice and easy from that pedal. The third mistake is not getting the shoes to suit the pedal. So I like to think of my shoes and pedals as a system. So those stiff-soled, lightweight cross-country shoes really suit those small pedals, because the stiff sole of the shoe gives you that support, but also transfers the maximum power into the bike. Larger enduro or downhill pedals actually suit the shoes with more rubber on the bottom. They get a better interface with that pedal, but also they can be a bit flexier and offer a bit more comfort. It's also quite nice to feel the pedal through your sole of your foot, so it almost feels just like a flat pedal. Getting your cleat placement wrong in the bottom of the shoe can actually lead to bad technique. So if you have your cleats too far forward, what that does, it tips your weight further forward. So actually you stand on the pedal slightly toe down, puts a lot of weight through your calf muscles as well, so that can cause cramp. But also when you ride into something, and obviously like a rock or something, the bike wants to slow down. If your weight is up and in front of the pedal, it's easier to get that weight up and towards the bar. So really subtly, just moving your cleat further back in the shoe will slide your foot to about there, much more flat or even heel down. It's actually going to keep that weight off the calves, put you in a better riding position. Number 5, riding with clips can lead you to rely on bad technique. Now this is one of the bugbears I have from my coaching days. I spent a lot of time trying to coach people out of their bad techniques and then relearn the good techniques. So specifically talking about trying to pick up your back wheel. Now it's easy to do it with clips. You just pull up with your feet, back wheel comes up in the air. You can get it over some obstacles, job done, right? However, I think you can hit a plateau with your riding skill level if you use this technique. So it becomes ingrained, and it isn't always the way to try and pick up your back wheel, specifically when it comes to riding more and more technical terrain, because actually your weight is staying over the rear tyre. You might be picking up off the floor, but if you're trying to ride over lots and lots of routes, eventually you'll get the timing wrong and your weight is still over that rear tyre. So the better way is to try and use your weight, and I've showed this in previous how-to videos, like how to bunny hop and how to move your weight around on the bike. So it's really using your hips to lift the wheels. So shift your hips up and forward to lift the rear tyre, vice versa for the front. And that's keeping your weight away from those wheels, much more useful when it comes to riding the more technical terrain. Finally, bad technique for jumping, and I'm talking about the same thing really. It's trying to use your feet to pick up the back wheel, super easy with clips, but when it comes to jumping, you'll only be able to pick up your back wheel as much as you've got bend in your legs. So when you run out of bend, that's it, that's the limit to how high you'll be able to go. Same thing again, try and learn that bunny hop technique, and when it comes to jumping, you can do this with either flats or clips, it doesn't matter, it should be the same technique. So really think about pumping the bike into the upslope of that jump, getting your weight back to drive that front wheel up into the air, pause for a second until your rear wheel hits the top of the jump, and then it's time to lift the rear wheel using your hips, up and forward. Sky's the limit really. You can go much higher using this technique and trying to pick up with your feet. So to get used to clipless pedals, it really is a case of just trying to think about setup briefly when you start out, but also think about your riding technique, and after a while you'll become natural and you'll stop panicking about trying to get out your pedals. It becomes a much more fun thing to do. Also, you can really benefit from that pedaling efficiency. So if you want to see a video about flats versus clips, click over there for that one. And if you want to see a first look on Canyon Lux, like my lovely new bike here, click down there for that one. Give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button.